All right, we're in business here. Okay. Thank you guys so much for coming. Uh, Today we are talking about somatic healing strategies for really for everyone, but I particularly love to work with the medical medium community. Uh, so that's who I'm talking to, but this works for everyone, really. Um, so if you don't know me, my name is Rachel Pellison. I am a registered dietitian, nutritionist, an herbalist, and an intuitive healer. And I've been using medical medium information for 8 years for myself and my clients. It has been nothing short of miraculous for myself and my clients. It's the foundation of the retreats that I do. It's been the catalyst for the energy healing work I do, the intuitive work that I do for so many massive changes in my life. Um, but one of the limitations that I see with medical medium information is that if you have a very dysregulated nervous system, the physical healing aspect is very difficult. And I will explain why. And in this workshop, we're going to focus on understanding why that happens and how we can correct it. So I want to give you guys a baseline understanding of how the nervous system works, understand how nervous system dysregulation makes healing and the rest of your life a lot more difficult, and why repeating patterns show up in your life that you may not want. So patterns of like weight gain or debt or unhealthy relationships or codependency or struggles at work or whatever it is, whatever's showing up in life that keeps coming back and you're like, why can't I get rid of this thing? A lot of that has to do with the nervous system. And then I'm going to begin to help you understand the process of how to rewire the nervous system so that you can be successful at whatever your life goals are and you can be the most healthy and vital that you possibly can. So we're going to kind of go over the nervous system basics, how trauma happens, and the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic nervous system. I'm going to throw a lot of jargon at you guys today. Um, Hopefully, I'm going to give you enough context and examples and stories that it makes sense. Obviously, you don't need to understand all of these words, but if you can take away one or two kind of new concepts, I think it will be hugely helpful. So don't get too bogged down in the language that I use. This language was new to me a little over a year ago when I really took a deep dive into learning about somatic healing. So it's been a journey for me as well. And if you guys have questions at any time, feel free to pop them in the chat. I think that helps everyone as we go along if you have questions and want to throw them in there. Um, Okay, so then, oops, go back. So then we're going to talk about nervous system activations, what they are, how they move us in or out of the flow zone, and how they affect our capacity in life to receive the things that we want to receive and to experience what we want in life. And then we'll go into kind of the nervous system rewire of how we start to change those patterns and take steps to create new patterns that we enjoy more than we don't enjoy, and what steps we can start to take at home today, right after this ends. Okay, so I want you guys first to just pop in the chat what patterns or what healing you would like to shift. What is either like a goal you're working towards, a block you feel like you're hitting, um, a a health symptom that you can't seem to shake that's been hanging around for a long time or kind of comes and goes or it's gotten reactivated, or just any or a feeling that you have that's been hard to like move through or keeps kind of resurfacing for you. So anything that you feel kind of stuck with. And the more I have from you guys, the more I can give you examples that are going to be closer to what you're managing and dealing with, and then it's going to click more. Okay. So, first of all, the nervous system states there's, okay, so we've got stress eating, chronic diaphragmatic clenching, and holding. So, diaphragm is like kind of just under the base of the ribs, stuck in self-judgment and immediate family. I want a reliable, functional plumbing in our house and in the body. I love it. Yes, plumbing is really important. Okay. Um, I'm going to share with you guys at the end what I'm working towards healing for 2026 because I am on this path as well. Um, so yeah, let me tell you how I got here kind of first. Like I said, I've been working with the medical medium information for 8 years, and I've healed psoriasis, heart palpitations, dizziness, adrenal fatigue, sleep disturbances. I have a list of like 20 symptoms that I was dealing with and I was like a healthy person. Um, and I healed all of those, but I have a couple little lingering symptoms, little ones. And I haven't really been super dedicated to my own physical healing in the last few years. I have a 3-year-old. And so all of my energy has really been consumed with the pregnancy, the postpartum, and getting that little human functioning in the world. So I've been in very much in a maintenance. Obviously, pregnancy, postpartum takes a big dip, and I recovered from that. I would say I'm absolutely at like my baseline, but there's few lingering symptoms that I'm finding the resources now, the capacity to start to address again. So that's part of my motivation is how do I do that without going hardcore into like the protocols. I mean, I'm pretty committed right now, but like I'm not someone that can do 10 back-to-back 369 cleanses. Just because of my lifestyle and my responsibilities with my kids and cooking for them and everything. So, is there another way is always my question. That also doesn't sound fun to me. That sounds like my body is like, hell no. Just thinking about that. And I also wanted more peace and consistency in my life. I want to feel more calm on a regular basis. I don't want to be super stressed out getting out of the house with my kids in the morning. Um, and I also want this tool for my clients because I've seen a lot of people in my 8 years. Like I found this information, put myself on it, and then immediately transitioned my whole practice. And I had a small practice at the time, but I was building my website, everything. I went gung-ho medical medium. And like I didn't even know if it worked at that point in time. But I was so committed and I knew. So, um, so I've seen a lot of people who are doing everything on the protocols. They've done 7 cleanses. They're taking 20 supplements. They're eating all raw and fat-free with just potatoes at dinner, and they're getting worse. And like to me, clearly, I'm like, oh, you're under like super high stress. I can tell your nervous system is very dysregulated. And my only solution for them was like maybe back down a little bit. Like you kind of have to take your foot off the gas pedal because you're going too hard. And that just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to help them. Can you guys see me while I'm talking? Or are you just seeing the slides? Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. So that is part of what motivated me to take this deep dive into somatic healing to add it to my business because it's it it's for me and it's for my clients. Okay. So that's why I'm here. We have a couple more responses in the chat here. Diet mentality, orthorexia, that's a huge one. If you have seen, I have a whole video on that. That's another aspect of this. Orthorexia is the result of a very dysregulated nervous system. And it definitely is a huge block to healing. Anxiety, fear of failure, moving into my, moving into the old but new me, moving away from the old but into the new me. Psoriasis, mindless eating, peace and staying on track without the self-doubt of all the layers. Yes. Okay. I have solutions for you guys. All right. So we're going biology 101 here, nervous system. Peace and staying on track with the self. Okay, got it. Oh, hold on, we have some more. I had great results doing monthly 369 cleanses, but it was short-lived. I couldn't keep them up. It was as if I got cleansed PTSD. It was too much, even though I loved that my body was cleansing. Yes, it can be too intense, and I'm going to show you exactly why. Okay, so nervous system. So we have the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. Some people also include freeze or fawn on this end. The sympathetic, actually, fight or flight. Take it back. We're putting, yes, they're all there. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. I'm going to get more detail of those. But when we're in this highly activated sympathetic nervous system, this is when the stress hormones are very high. And this is when we're ready to fight for our life or run for our life. And so the body thinks we're in a life or death situation. It's going to send all the resources to the muscles, the lungs, and the heart, and that's pretty much it. So you can like run and go. So your immune system turns off. Inflammation, when you're in this chronically, inflammation starts to build because you've got toxins and pathogens that are accumulating. Digestion is poor. Blood is immediately shunted away from the digestive tract and the liver and the kidneys. So your ability to detoxify drops very quickly. You may have mood swings, mental health issues, sleep disturbances. This is what leads to adrenal fatigue because you have these constant surges of adrenaline that are wearing out the adrenals. Rapid aging. If you've ever seen someone, I have a relative who had a baby that had to go for open heart surgery in the first week of her life. And when I saw this relative for the first time after that happened, she aged 5, 10 years, right? So that high level of stress absolutely causes rapid aging. High blood pressure, hormonal imbalances, brain fog, fear, limitations, you can get really stuck over here. So a lot of us are spending a lot of time in the sympathetic nervous system, partly because our culture runs so fast. We are constantly getting bombarded with emails, messages, like group chats, like nothing is sacred about our own quiet time now, right? So, and Anthony talks about this in Life-Changing Foods, about the quickening, and we're in it. So what we want to do is get out of spending so much time in the sympathetic activation and move to more time in parasympathetic. And that's where blood flow moves back to the brain, the digestive tract, the liver, the kidneys, the lymphatic system. This is where healing occurs. So the parasympathetic is typically called the rest and digest state. I'm going to call it the rest, digest, and heal state because that's what's happening. That's where healing happens. So when we spend more time here, we have enhanced immunity, less inflammation, digestion and absorption of nutrients is more effective. And so your healing foods that you're eating, your supplements that you're taking, if you take them in a parasympathetic state, you get so much more from them. So you don't have to be quite as strict. You don't have to take quite as much because you're getting more bang for your buck, essentially. You're going to have better detoxification, more stable moods, more patience. I need more patience. Better sleep, slower aging, better tissue repair, better hormone balance, clarity, focus, and the intuition that comes with this is extremely powerful. I have spent the last 3 years, since beginning of 2022, 22, 23, okay, almost 4 years, in and out of a lot of sympathetic activation. Like there's been more sympathetic activation, I would say, in the last 4 years than maybe in my whole life. So I have been living it. I have been in it. And it does not feel good. And I'm finally moving back into more and more time in parasympathetic. And it is such a breath of fresh air. I feel so much better. And I'm feeling all of these things happening. Um, and sometimes life throws stuff at you, like you just can't get out of sympathetic because you don't have the capacity for, all the balls you have in the air, all the plates you're juggling. And that's what this somatic healing is all about is creating more capacity and being able to be in parasympathetic even when life throws big things at you. Okay, so one important thing we need to understand is, oh, okay, everything in the sympathetic state, yes. Okay, so one of the things we need to understand is that the phases of activation of the nervous system. So the first thing that happens is we have an activation. Like, I'm trying to think of I wrote this in one of my recent emails. I looked at my credit card, my bank credit card, before I went to bed, and the balance was disturbing. So boom, there's my activation, right? Immediate stressor. Not something I probably should have done right before bed, but hey, whatever. So in order to process an activation, we need to feel the body, feel the emotions. We need to process what we're feeling and go, ooh, I'm feeling tightness in my chest. I'm feeling my blood pressure up. I'm feeling hot. I'm feeling sweaty. Um, I'm feeling fearful. I'm feeling self-judgment. I'm feeling whatever I'm feeling. We need to name and experience all the feelings that come along with the activation. And then we need to process it in some way. So maybe we sit down and make a plan. We call someone and talk about it. We go for a walk. We hug a tree. There's a processing that needs to happen. And then when the processing is complete, we release it. And that I don't carry that activation from looking at my credit card forward with me for the next 10 years or the next 10 days, right? You could be in an activation from that all the time. So bigger things can be activations, car accident, right? So what happens when we have these activations is it's a cycle to move through. So we kind of have the activation, we're supposed to have the feeling and awareness, the processing and the release, and then that activation is complete and we move on. But what happens is sometimes this process gets interrupted. And that could be because you don't have the resources. You weren't allowed to feel your feelings. You have an immature brain that doesn't know how to process stress or trauma. So these things get stuck and trapped in the body. So we can have old activations that have never been completed. And they create what I'm going to call them trauma loops. So trauma is not what happens to us, it's how we process what happens to us. So something could be, let's just say, use a car accident, very traumatic to one person. Someone else could get in the exact same car accident, same car, whole same thing, and they could walk away and be like, oh, well, that sucked, but I'm fine. So it's not what happens, it's how we process it. So things that seem little or insignificant can be a big deal. And sometimes big things actually don't create any trauma because we were given the tools and resources we needed. So if you can kind of think of your nervous system capacity as this like box. And when we come into the world, we've already got some stuff in our nervous system capacity. So maybe your mom had a very stressful pregnancy. Maybe you had a little bit of trauma at birth and you got bruising on your forehead, or you had forceps or C-section or whatever. And then maybe after you were born, you had to have a little NICU stay, or you had digestive upsets, you were crying all the time, right? So we get all these little unprocessed traumas, right? So these can all be like, 0 to 3 months. We can already have stuff that's unprocessed that's taking up capacity in our nervous system. The other thing that can happen is, and I believe, we can inherit some of this stuff. And this is why I lean more into somatic healing. And I think that talk therapy has its limitations. It's very important. It's super helpful. It is a great thing to do, but it has its limitations because some of this stuff is not in our conscious mind. We don't have memories of it. And so we have to go into the subconscious or the unconscious to access what our body is holding. So I'm going to give you this really quick example. My daughter, who is almost 9, Oh, yeah, someone wants to join. She um started getting sad. And she's been getting sad and sad more and more and more until the other day she cried for 8 hours straight. And it was so hard to watch. And so I was good for 7.5 hours and then I started to lose my shit. Like, you got to stop. Like, we can't keep doing this. So anyway, we got her, she's on the mend. She's good. This has just happened like 2 days ago. She's great today. She's really good. She's like 90% back to herself. But last night, I was like, let me go to my toolbox and see what I can do to help this kid. And so I did a form of energy healing called emotion code. If you're not familiar, it was developed by a guy named Bradley Nelson. He's a chiropractor, and he developed it for his chiropractic clients that he couldn't fix with chiropractic. Like, the adjustments wouldn't stick. He couldn't fix it. So he developed this energy healing technique. He practiced it with his wife on his kids, and now it's a system, and I've seen really countless miracles through this. So I haven't used it in a while, but I pulled it out for her. And it looks for trapped emotions, which are basically like these bubbles in here, right? It's unprocessed emotions. And I pulled one up and it was heartache. And I was like, oh, well, that makes sense. And the emotions in that system can come from your own firsthand experiences. They can be absorbed from people around you, or they can be inherited. And this particular one, heartache, I found was inherited. It came from me, my lineage, and it went 5 generations back. So it originated at my daughter's great 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 grandfather. So I kind of tuned into this and I was like, what happened? Why did this get trapped so strongly and get passed down through the family line? And so I'm going very science and now we're getting very woo-woo. And I got this vision of him losing either a girlfriend or a wife. When I got the vision, I thought it was a girlfriend because she looked very young, very beautiful. And that was where the heartache got trapped. And I was like, okay, interesting. So I did the process of releasing it. And then I was like, my dad sent me a family tree like years ago. And I found the email and I went into the family tree and I traced it back and I found the paternal great 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 grandfather to my daughter. His name was Charles Henry Harris. And he was born in 18 something, and he died in 1952. And I'm looking up, I want to use the right use the right dates and everything because it's like so profound. Okay, so he was born in 1872 and he died in 1952. So I found this in the family tree and then I Googled his name with his dates of birth and I found him in like some ancestry registry with all the places he lived and everything. He had a wife named Lavinia Booth, who was born in 1880, and they had 5 children together, and she died in 1907 at the age of 27. So she died very young, um, possibly in childbirth, because there was another child born in 1907. So this is flipping me out because I'm like, I just had this vision of my great great grandfather, my daughter's great 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 grandfather losing a spouse, and now I just found it validated on the internet. And so this energy has been trapped in my family for 125 minus 7, 18 years. 118 years, this energy has been living in my family. This is not something I can access through my conscious memory. This is not something I can heal with supplements, right? Like this this is the deep deep ancestral lineage stuff that I talk about, people doing their healing work and using medical medium information and doing their soul work, and I always remind people, like, this is not just about you. This is so much bigger and so much deeper because when you clear this stuff, if I cleared this for her, this does not go on to future generations, right? And so that's huge. And so I told my dad about this and he goes, oh yeah, I have that. He said he used to have like heartbreaking, like crushing loneliness when his dad would travel for business. The trigger for my daughter to cry for 8 hours was that her dad left for a business trip. So, like, it just, you're like, oh my gosh, okay. So this is why this work is so, and so then when you start to clear this stuff, right, wherever it's coming from, you start to make more space. So we have to start to release this old stuff through pathways of release. And I'll explain what some of those are. That's what the somatic healing is. We got to get this old stuff out of here. But what happens is we come in with some stuff, we go through life, we just keep packing more and more crap into our nervous system. And then guess what? There is no room to flow. And we are chronically anxious, chronically depressed, chronically inflamed, chronically disconnected from our intuition. Um, Chronically going from one thing to the next to the next to the next to try and heal ourselves, but we're never getting to the energetic roots. Or, if you're using medical medium information, I think you're getting to a lot of the physical roots, but you've got to get to the energetic roots as well to really, really heal this stuff. So we have to create these pathways of release to get the old stuff out, and so we don't keep stacking new stuff in there. So we are creating more capacity, more room to flow when we start to move this old stuff out. So, okay, going back to the science now. I keep losing the image of you guys and come back to, there it is. I like to see your faces while I'm talking. There we go. Okay. So we have sympathetic activation on the top of this chart here. This is when we get into hyper arousal. So this is when the body thinks we're running from a tiger, right? So this is where we get high blood pressure, we get anxious, we get fidgety, we can't sit still, high heart rate, shallow breathing, right? This is super up activated. So we have this at the top end, and on the bottom, we have the parasympathetic. Or you can also have a sympathetic shutdown that will also push you down to the bottom. The sympathetic shutdown is freeze. Like after that really difficult day with my daughter, I was in the sympathetic. I couldn't sleep until like 2 in the morning. I was so worried about her and what am I gonna do and how are we gonna help her, and then I woke up in the morning and I jumped down into freeze. And I was like, not juicing. Guys, get your own breakfast. We're putting the TV on. Like mom needs to I am just checking out. And then childcare came and I just went and sat in my bed and zoned out for a while because I was like, I held so much space for so long that I'm like cooked. So in between these two states, which is where we want to be spending most of our time, we don't want to be vacillating from super high activation to crash, super high activation to crash. In between is the flow zone. And that's where we feel like present in the moment. We feel joyful. We feel at ease. We feel at peace. We're flowing with the day. Things come along, bumps in the road, but you're like, okay, I got this. And you can keep going about your business, right? So our goal is to get more into this flow zone. And this comes from Dr. Peter Levine, who his work is in somatic experiencing. He has a bunch of books on trauma proofing your kids, all kinds of stuff. He's a pretty brilliant guy. But essentially, this space between hyper arousal at the top and hypo arousal is your window of tolerance. So this is like how much can you carry on your plate? How much can you manage in a day? Bianca says, I did a somatic session with Rachel, and the next day I began to process a loss that I never really grieved from 10 years ago. I didn't realize how sad I was. Actually, being with it is allowing me to accept it and move forward. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, there's some stuff stuck in there that we don't even know about. So yeah. This happened to me February of last year. No, this year of 2025. I had a miscarriage at 11 weeks and I did not get time to process. I took a week off from work, but then life like went crazy and I did not have time to process that. So it took a good 9 months and I'm still in some level of processing with it, but a couple of you on here have been at my retreats, and so you know that I did a lot of processing at those. And that was super healing. So thank you, ladies, for holding space for me. And so yeah, so we're going to get into the processing piece. But so this is our window of tolerance. So if you've got a lot of old stuff stuck in your nervous system in your capacity, your window of tolerance might be really small. Like you're going to get activated super quick. You're going to lose it real quick, or you're going to shut down really quickly. So a lot of times what we end up doing is we vacillate from hyper arousal to hypo. And I'll give you one example in like the medical medium world. We see people go so hard and they're pushing their detox so hard and they're going, and they're purging and they're purging and they're purging. And then they either their health crashes or their mood crashes or something goes awry. And then they lose it and they go back into old patterns of binge eating, of old food habits, of not exercise, like whatever it is, they go into hypoarousal. And I think one of the challenges in our culture is like we almost have been trained to believe that we should live in the sympathetic all the time. Like we should go, go, go and do and never take breaks and don't feel your feelings and just keep pushing and hustling. And if you're not working out an hour a day, like meditating, cooking all your food from scratch, like volunteering. I don't know, like this insane list of things that you're supposed to do every day. Like then you're not doing enough. And so there is this sort of ill cultural programming that I think tells us we're supposed to be in sympathetic all the time. There's like this unhealthy like pressure or standard. Um, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, somebody have a question?
Yep. Um, I have a question. You say medical medium world, and I don't know what you mean by that. Like I'm a medium. I can like, I don't know,
Oh,
look at somebody or think about somebody and I can tell you what's going on with them. But I don't know what you mean by medical medium
yeah.
because you refer to it a lot and I'm not here. I
Yes.
don't know the specific definition from you,
Okay.
please.
So, medical medium is a guy named Anthony William, and he has like 8 books or something. He basically channels information about the true root cause, according to him, the true root causes of health symptoms, which are primarily um, pathogens like viruses and bacteria, toxins, like especially heavy metals, and nutrient deficiencies. And so he gives this advanced healing information about what you should be eating, which is actually has a ton of science behind it. Um, but sort of flies in the face of a lot of traditional nutritional recommendations. So it's a lot of raw foods, it's tons of fruit, leafy greens, potatoes, celery juice, if you've heard of that at all. So that's who medical medium is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's him being a medical medium as opposed to like you or everybody other than me
Yeah.
are actual mediums.
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
he can supposedly read people and
Mhm.
like scan their bodies and see what the root causes of their health symptoms are. So I came to it because I was actually looking for solutions for my clients because I was a dietitian. I'd worked in hospitals for a decade. Like I had a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. Like I was so immersed in the science. But I was like, there's something missing here. And I kept looking and looking. And then I finally found his information. And he has millions of followers on all the social media platforms. And I found his information and like every light bulb went off and started clicking. And so I was able to reverse autoimmune condition and all these things that most traditional spaces are going to say are incurable or irreversible, right? So that's the medical medium information.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. That
Yes,
clears
you're
it up.
very welcome. Okay. So what we want to do is increase our window of tolerance or increase our capacity to manage what life throws at us. So when we have an activation, it doesn't throw us up into hyper arousal in the sympathetic or knock us down into freeze in the hypo arousal. All right. So somatic healing helps to increase our window of tolerance by releasing old trapped stuff. Okay. Let me make sure I've gotten all of the things. Okay, so let's just agree that we've all got trapped emotions in the body. um, and the key to kind of starting to unravel that trapped stuff is first awareness of what's going on. So we can start to bring awareness to our what's activating us, what we're feeling, what are the thoughts, beliefs, and stories behind there, and what are the behaviors that we're engaging in that are not serving us, right? Like, so for me, when I get stressed and I get into sympathetic, I want to eat junk food. It's because it helps ground my nervous system. So like I want heavy food, I want processed food, I want chocolate, I want matcha. Like for some reason it's like a little bit different adrenaline it kicks in that makes me feel better even though I've already got a lot of adrenaline. Um so we have to start to cultivate an awareness of what's going on because the old stuff is being triggered, right? So like for my daughter, that old, hers was inherited, but that old stuff was getting triggered. For me, I had some childhood trauma that I didn't unravel until I was 37. So about 5 years ago, I uncovered this repressed trauma and started working with it and immediately felt like this nervous system, like, like huge change. Like I'd never felt so calm. I didn't know what like that existed because I had been in this, I had had that unclosed trauma loop in my body for 30 years since I was like 6 or 7 years old. So we've got stuff, conscious, subconscious, unconscious, and it's activating us. Um, so the process I'm going to give you guys to take home is to first identify your activations as you go on throughout the day. Like what's triggering you, what's putting you into the sympathetic, or what is overwhelming your system and then dropping you down into um, hypoactivation, freeze, or fawn. What are the bodily sensations? This one is so important. Like this is the one because somatic healing is about the body. So for me, a lot of times I get a lot of tension and tightness in my solar plexus. Sometimes I feel it in my heart. And so it could be like an acute thing like that, or it could be like I have this chronic nagging cough, or I have a chronic pain in my hip, or whatever it is. So like what's coming into the body. And so the process really the process is for this awareness is stillness in its being. So I woke up the one other morning, like last week. I have an Instagram video I posted on this. If you're on Instagram, I think it's the most recent post. And I woke up and I felt funky. This was the morning after I had the credit card thing. I had nightmares in the morning and I woke up and I was just anxious and I was like, ugh, haven't felt like this in a long time. Like I'm just anxious. Like there's no real reason. I'm just anxious. And I so I went through this process. I was probably like an a five or like maybe I was say like a six on a scale of 1 to 10. And then so I sat in my bed and you want to put hands on wherever you feel that activation. So I put my hands on my solar plexus and I got this voice screaming in my head saying, "How are we gonna survive?" And I was like, "Ooh, okay." Like my body is literally going, how are we going to survive? Meanwhile, I'm like, got a roof over my head, got food in the fridge, it's warm in here, like I have family I can rely on, but my body is not here in this moment. It's somewhere else. It's in an old trauma loop or it's in wherever it is, right? It's not here with me. So giving your attention to that, naming it is super key. And then what emotions are coming up? So I was feeling anxious, fearful, frustrated. And I can't remember what else at the moment, but this isn't a recent email I sent also. Um, so what emotions are coming up there? And then what are the thoughts and beliefs and stories? Like, for me, there's like this, oh, I'll never get out of debt. Um, the other thing that triggered me the night before was I was looking at my teeth and I was noticing some teeth changes. And like I had a little filling and there's like a little tiny hole above it now. And I'm like, oh, well, like that's either going to turn into a cavity. It needs to get filled, like whatever it is. I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want the Novocaine. I don't want the dental work. I don't want to pay for it, right? Like all the things, like another thing with my teeth. And so all three of those things triggered me. So it's like, you know, I don't know, dental work is horrible. It's going to be just a downward slope where all my teeth are going to have to get drilled. Like, I don't know. I don't even, it's so sometimes the stories get crazy. Like a little thing turns into these huge stories or like it could be, things like I'm not good enough or oh, I screwed this up or I should have done better. There could be guilt, shame, fear, grief, whatever's underneath there. And then what behaviors are we engaging in when we get activated? So I gave you a lot of my food behaviors. My other behaviors when I get activated, definitely scrolling on the phone is probably my biggest one. Um, Putting the TV on for the kids so that they can so I don't have to manage them on top of my own dysregulation. Um, I've got the behaviors down to a very small list now. I used to have a lot more behaviors. A lot more. Alcohol was a huge coping mechanism for me for a long time. Some of you guys have heard me tell those stories, and that's for another day. But so what are your behaviors that you're engaging in? And are they positive or maladaptive? If it's binge eating, obviously that's a maladaptive behavior. If it's going outside and putting your feet on the earth and saying a prayer, well, that's a pretty, that's a healthier way to manage, right? Um, and so what we're doing with these adaptive behaviors, if we're up here, we're trying to bring ourselves back down. Or if we're down here and we're really stuck, we're trying to bring ourselves back up. So what happens is we often get into these repetitive cycles of activation, symptom management, activation, symptom management, activation, right? It just over and over and over. So we want to get out of these patterns of just regulating positive, like healthy ways of regulating. Like, let me give you some examples of my healthy ones. Breathing, mirror work, um, music, essential oils, hot tea, getting some herbs into my system, using things like ashwagandha, lemon balm. Those are great ones. But that's not getting always to the root cause, right? So somatic healing is about getting to the root cause so we don't get stuck in these cycles. Okay, so we're using this 5-step process to figure out where we are, what our patterns are, and how they are creating patterns in our life. And do we want those patterns, right? So shopping could be a coping mechanism, right? Um, like if I just do this next thing, just one more thing, and then I'll feel good, and then I'll feel good, and then I'll feel good, right? So not working. So it's helping you identify your patterns and then the triggers behind it. So if you take anything from this, if you can start to do this, like you can do it once a day, you can recap in the evening, you can set an alarm for 12 o'clock each day and just be like, where am I? However you're doing this, it can be a walking meditation where you're sort of consistently in the self-observation, self-awareness piece. This is the key is like tracking the nervous system and understanding what's going on and teasing one piece out at a time. Sometimes it can be hard to identify what you're feeling. So I did give you this feelings wheel, and I will give you these slides in the an email with a replay, but it can get you beyond like, I'm just happy or scared or angry to like, ooh, I actually feel threatened or I feel weak or I feel excluded. And we don't just want to be tracking the uncomfortable emotions, we also want to be tracking the positive ones because you want to be setting yourself up to support the positive ones. So I know for me, I've been doing a like 15-minute workout in a day. And when I do it in the morning, I am like, okay, so I do lemon water, I do my 15-minute workout, I do celery juice, and then I have a big smoothie. If I do that, I am good. I feel so like it sets me on the right path. So this is the thing you're like, this morning movement is really helpful for me. So we want to be tracking this positive stuff too. Not that it's positive or negative. We're not labeling anything good or bad. It's just, is it a pleasant thing you want more of, or is it an unpleasant thing that you would like to experience less? You can also use, this is my favorite. This is The Levels of Consciousness by David R. Hawkins. I have a huge poster of this that lives on my wall, and it comes to all of my retreats that it can, not the ones that go in suitcases, obviously, but the ones I host locally. So this gives you different emotions, and the scale represents the vibration that each emotion holds. So the lowest vibration emotion at the bottom is shame, and the highest is enlightenment at the top. And this also helps you see that these lowest vibration emotions often lead to inaction. This is hypoarousal on that visual I gave you before. This is hyperarousal. This is your sympathetic activation, desire, anger, pride, right? This is where we're hustling. So this can also help you see where you are and then also identify what's happening here. And I love this too because we're meant to dip down into these feelings so that we can go back up higher. And so it's not that feeling any of these feelings is bad, it's good. We need them because they're our guidance system. So when you're picking this stuff up in your body, like I said, it's not good or bad. It just is. It's information. And with more information and awareness, we can make better choices and create new patterns. So I could do a whole talk on this because I'm obsessed with this, but that's just a primer. Look it up if you're intrigued. Okay, so what we're looking for is to increase this capacity, right? To take that nervous system capacity and pull out the old stuff so we've got more room for the flow zone. And then that leads to all those health benefits, right? Quicker, easier healing of symptoms. You're going to get more intuitive hits and more psychic moments. I had that crazy psychic experience. This was just last night. I was up till 1 in the morning doing that energy healing with my daughter. She woke up peachy today, like 90 to 95% back to herself. So like this is why this work is so important too, because it's going to give you solutions. When you're in a grounded nervous system state, in a calm state, that intuition is going to be there so much louder and more clear. And in the past 3 to 4 years, where I had a lot of dysregulation, the intuition was sparse at times, scarce, not available at times. And that was really hard for me because I spent so many years prior to that developing that intuition and it becoming the way I made all my choices, and I lost that for a while. So I can't even explain how good it feels to have that back and to be having these synchronicities and little miracles on a regular basis again. This increased capacity is going to let you sort of take those risks. It's going to give you comfort in the unknown. It's going to let you start that spiritual business, take that course, take the leap of faith, move, end a relationship that's sucking the life out of you, right? Like it's going to give you this power. It's going to give you a lot of power back. Um, for me, it's like you can hold more of your soul energy when there's more space for it to come in and be present. And you'll just spend more time feeling more calm, safe, peaceful, relaxed, joyful, present. Like it is so good. And I know, like I said, there's a few ladies on here who've been to my retreats. I know you guys are experiencing this post retreat as well. So it's pretty cool. So once we gather all this information, we know we want to spend more time in parasympathetic. How do we start to shift it and change it? The idea is we're rewiring the nervous system. And quite literally, we are creating new neural pathways in the brain. So, we used to be told like, oh, you only get so many brain cells, and if you kill them off, that's it. You never get them back. Wrong. You can always make new neural pathways, new brains. You can build new brain cells your entire life. So what we're doing is we're creating safety in spaces that have previously felt unsafe. Um, we are taking moments. I'm going to go back to this first slide. So when this phase of activation got interrupted, you got activated, you couldn't feel it, you couldn't process it, you couldn't release it. Something got stuck. These are open trauma loops. So it's like a skipping record. It's like did it, did it, did it, but you can never finish the song. So what we're doing with somatic healing, we're going back in, we're finding those open trauma loops, and we're completing the song. And we do that by spending time around safe nervous systems. I hope you guys feel safe and regulated. You might not. um, we do it through movement. Peter Levine's work, he always shows this video of a polar bear that gets shot with a dart and they put it to sleep and do veterinary care on it or whatever. And when it's waking up, it shakes like this. The whole body shakes. And that is the completion of the trauma loop. You move the energy and the adrenaline out of the body. So movement is really helpful. And so I use modalities like soul flow, like mirror work, where we get into the alpha and theta brain waves, and that's where new neural pathways can be built. We close those trauma loops that we experience firsthand that we are aware of, right? You lost a loved one, you went through a breakup, whatever, financial hardship, the loops that we've inherited, like my daughter had that heartache. And for me, I believe there's also past life trauma loops as well. And this is something that I have gone on retreats and worked with astrologers and healed my own to some degree. I'm not done. There's work to do, but there's past life wounds, and that you can kind of unravel some of through your astrological chart and human design and things like that. But it comes from a number of places. Like it's not all just what we went through in this life. And again, that's why the somatic work is so important, because all of that information is in the body. It's not in the brain. Somatic means body. So we're going into the body to find these open loops and then using these tools of co-regulation and movement and awareness and processing and feeling to close those loops and be done with them. There can be a lot of loops in there, a lot of loops. And there can be really big loops where the activation was so huge that you just shut down and you checked out. And so we're not going to close that loop in one 30-minute dancing session. Like we're going to have to just inch it closer and closer and closer and back off and then inch it closer until we finally move to closing that loop. So some of these are huge and they're going to take time and a lot of attention, and others are small and they're going to move more easily. And what we're also doing with this process of self-awareness and rewiring is preventing new emotions and experiences from being trapped. So we're no longer building up that emotional baggage, essentially. We have more tools to work and process. So it sounds a little abstract, but let me give you an example of what we do. Let's do a quick just 5-minute check-in we'll do a little super quickie somatic healing. So I'm going to invite all of you guys to close your eyes and just tune into your body. Now you may get lots of information, you may get no information. None of that is good or bad. It's just information. Okay, so just tune into your body and just start to feel your physical body. noticing if there's any places that are speaking to you. And if you have multiple places that are speaking to you, tune into the one that is the strongest or the loudest. And then I'm going to ask you to put your hands where you feel that strongest, loudest sensation in the body. And then feel into if there's any emotion there. And again, there may or may not be. There's no good or bad in this, there's just information. You can sort of name the emotion in your head. There might be many emotions there, maybe even conflicting emotions. And you're just going to say to yourself in your head, you know, body, I feel whatever the physical sensation is. I honor the emotions of whatever's coming up. And then see if there's any stories there. They could be a memory, a belief, a thought pattern, something your grandmother used to say to you all the time as a kid. See if there's any thoughts or beliefs there. And then ask yourself if you've been avoiding those sensations, emotions. Have you been numbing that in any way or trying to escape it? And thank your body for continuing to communicate with you, even if you've been unaware of what it's been trying to say, maybe for a very long time. And then tune your attention back into the original sensation that you experienced. And just take note if that sensation has changed in intensity at all. Like, let's say if it was a 5 out of 10, what does it feel like now? And then again, one last time, we're going to thank the body for communicating and sharing its wisdom. And if it feels like there's something unresolved in that space, we're going to make sure to promise the body that we will come back and listen again as many times as necessary. And when you're ready, bringing your energy back into the room, back into your space, and opening your eyes and joining us back on Zoom. And then if you guys want to put into the chat, now that was very quick, very, very quick, but that's the basis of how I do somatic healing. And so oftentimes these sessions will last, I'll have you in that state 30, 45 minutes at a time. And we can go out on a real long trail of breadcrumbs, hit all these different points in the body, different stories, different memories, different energies. And then we loop it all back around and we check in with each point in the body about if we've shifted any energy that felt unpleasant. And I have people go from an 8 out of 10 intensity in the solar plexus to a 1 or sometimes even a 0. So if you guys want to put in the chat where you felt energy, how intense it was kind of at the beginning, and if it shifted at all, you could put a number. It was a 5 and it went to a 4, or it was a 4 and it went to a 9. But just pop that in if you want to share. So that's how we do it. It's that simple. And it's most powerful when you have someone guiding you through it or a group holding space at the same time. And that's why I do the retreats, because the amount of nervous system work you can do in a few days is far more than you could ever do by yourself. And the nervous system change is tangible, like afterwards. Again, we're still experiencing up and downs. We're never going to be in like a state of bliss. That's for after we leave this planet. But you can get a lot more of it. We have behind the left ear, it was an 8, stayed an 8, but got some very good information and am now aware of something I need to address, heal. Yeah, beautiful. That is progress. That is one little layer of progress that you just moved it for closing a loop, right? That's one nudge in the right direction. So the process of rewiring, I've been in this work for a year now. I'm seeing huge changes in my own life. According to the experts in this field, 2 years it takes to significantly rewire the brain, which for me sounds like a pretty short time compared to like what I've been doing for the last 20 years. We have pain in the right side near the ribs. It was a 4 reduced to a 1. Good info from the body, yeah. 6 to a 4. The body seemed to be glad to just be listened to for a few moments. Yes, yes. It's just like when you're activated or you're upset. We just want someone to just sit with us and listen to us and maybe give us a hug or hold our hand. So you're just giving yourself that gift. At first, I felt energy in my chest and solar plexus at an 8. Then while working through it, the beliefs, it shifted to the throat at a 10. Yes. So this happens. It starts in one place and it moves. So we have to track with that. And when I guide you through a session or a group session, we'll go backwards. So we'll go to the throat, we'll see what's there. Then sometimes we go to 4 or 5 places, and then we'll go back into where the energy originated. So the chest is calmed to a 6, went from an 8 to a 6, but the throat still feels like a 10. Definitely will be revisiting a feeling unheard. Yes, so good. And sometimes you don't get anything. Like I had a client recently and she was like, nothing. I got nothing. I don't see a color. I don't hear a sound. I don't have a memory. I don't have an age. I don't have a texture. It's just nothing. And I was like, okay, let's explore nothing. What's in the nothing? And then she was like, oh, there's some stuff in this nothing. I was like, yes. So, yes. So again, it can be like a hard thing to get to on your own without help and support. If you knew how to do it, you'd already do it, right? If somebody had taught you this, hopefully a lot of our children will learn this. A finger felt fat of all things. Yeah, but had great information about use of the body from decades ago. Yeah, it could be a toe. It could be like it could be any random part of the body. It was bubbling at the surface, but I needed more time. Yes, that, like I said, that was very quick. But I just wanted to give you an, because it's still, it can feel very abstract. You're like, so what is somatic healing? How do we do this? So it's moving that energy through. So oftentimes when I guide a somatic session, I'll have people move, like I can see them, they start getting like me in their seats. And I'm like, okay, do you need to move your arms? And they're like, yeah. Do you need to shake your hands? Yeah. And so then they just start, and then you go like, just move your body how it wants to move. And then that's the discharge. And that has closed the loop or moved it closer to closing. So it is really simple. Um, and what we're doing with the rewire is we're creating safety in going to places that feel unsafe, that were unsafe, right? And um so we're creating safety in what has been historically perceived as unsafe. And that's really the gift that we're giving. Are emotions trapped in parts of the body that don't hurt? I feel like I gain weight in my hips when triggered, but they don't necessarily hurt. Um, yes. So sometimes it's referred. So you might have like an injury in your lower back, but you feel the pain in your shoulder. So all of it is connected through a network of fascia, which has light that runs through it. It's a connective tissue. And so it's moving all over. And sometimes it's getting stuck in one place because it's getting pulled from over here. So yes, and there's different parts of the body hold different energy. So it may not show up as pain. It may show up some other way, but where the body is storing it is not necessarily where it's communicating. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that the energy is stored right there in your body, but that's just where the body is communicating. Good question. Oh. So yeah, so the rewire takes time. Like I said, 2 years, and but it's just like healing with food. It's not like there's like an end point. You're like, did it, all done, healed, check the box, right? Like it's a moving target. So as you are healing, you're going to be feeling better and you're going to be seeing the results along the way. But a, a, a significant rewire, where this is probably like they're seeing imagery on scans and things, 2 years to see those significant changes in that kind of way. So again, it doesn't mean that you're getting benefits every single time you do a session. But it's how, and it depends on how deeply rooted those patterns of behavior are. But when you get your nervous system regulated, then you don't have to go down those behavior pathways. And you don't like hustle and grind your way and then crash and then go back down the old pathway. You're slowly, brick by brick, building yourself new walkways to go down in your brain. Okay, so uh, let's see. So yeah, so sometimes these maladaptive patterns, like we call them self-sabotage, or we like beat ourselves up for like, why do I keep doing the same thing over and over again? But it's not self-sabotage. It's actually your body's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to prevent you from further harm, from more trauma. And so it's clamping you down. It's like it's going into like a protective mode, right? Um, So yeah, so I didn't have the capacity for a good chunk of time. And in that time, I wasn't able to be as consistent with my healing protocols. I gained 15 pounds at least. Ah, yeah, 15, 13, 15 pounds anyways. Um, and not a big deal, but it's for me, I know that's one of my body's ways of expressing that I'm out of balance, right? And so once you turn on this listening to the body, it's really, you can't turn it off. You have to feel everything. So what I'm doing for myself for 2026 is I'm gonna work my way into healing protocols for teeth stuff. I've lost a lot of enamel. And that's from historical poor choices. I think from two pregnancies also really did a number on my teeth. So I'm going to be working on the physical healing protocols for my teeth. It's funny because I get like holes in my teeth, but they're not cavities. It's just enamel loss. So I'll be working on that. I also, again, I healed huge stuff, but I have these little lingering. Cold sores is a thing that pops up for me. I know this is also emotional because they pop up when I'm not expressing myself. So again, that's a rewire I need to go down to. It's safe for me to express myself. And I can't just talk my way into that with affirmations. It has to actually feel safe, right? And I'm also going to do the antiviral protocols to help knock that viral load down. And then my third thing that I'll be focusing on is cycles of debt. So I'm in this pattern where I make more money than I've ever made, and I go into debt. And then I make more money and then I go into more debt. And then I make more money and I pay it all off and I go into more debt. And then I make more money and I pay it all off and then I go into more debt. So that is one that this is a deep rooted one for me because I don't uh, that's a tough one. So those are the three things that I'm going to be focused on healing, and I'll be using the medical medium information and the somatic healing work to do that. So the way I'll be participating in somatic healing work is through my own sessions with myself, which I can do because I'm trained in this, but it's not as easy as having someone guide me through it. So I may reach out to some of my peers to help me. I have a goal of hosting 4 retreats this year, which deep healing from those. And the thing that's starting right away is the Body and Balance Mastermind. So that's going to be a 6-month journey of physical healing, emotional healing, spiritual healing, using the somatic protocols, healing in a group. We're starting on Thursday. So if anyone is interested in joining us for that, we have one person here has already joined. We have one other, and there's a few more spots. But we're going to be doing this work together, and I'm going to be doing it right alongside you. I'm going to be right in this with you, not testing it for myself, but applying it so I can become more of a master of this work and also continue to remain a humble student of this work. So we will be doing this together. So I will drop you guys a link if you're interested in that. We start that this week. And then the next retreat will be in Puerto Rico in February, the 8th. Hang on. I have not opened this up yet. The 9th to the 13th in Puerto Rico will be 5 days. So that'll be opening up very soon. So keep your eyes peeled if you want to do this in person, because it is powerful in person. It is fun. It is like breakthroughs. It's super cool. I find that the idea of menopause gets in the way of recognizing what is activated. Oh my fucking God. I have such a rant to go on about menopause. I cannot even tell you how enraged I get about this. I'm gonna give you guys a link, but um yeah, the chatter out there right now on menopause is like frightening to me because everything is getting blamed on menopause. So I'll give you this snippet, and I have intentions of doing a whole um workshop program, something on menopause. So the Western medical perception of menopause is that it's a problem, and we have to fix it. We have to medicate it. The traditional wise woman view of menopause is that it is a transition that we need to support, right? So, and there's something like I just did a webinar with a big panel of herbalists, brilliant women on menopause, and there's something like 60 different symptoms now that are associated with menopause and perimenopause. And so now women in their 30s who are 15 years away from menopause are getting labeled with these menopause symptoms. And in my humble opinion, these have nothing to do with menopause. Yes, there may be some hormonal imbalances. Yes, there's absolutely adrenal fatigue is massive. It is causing a huge chunk of those symptoms. There's high levels of toxicity. People's livers are wildly overburdened with toxins, and there's pathogens. And all of that is contributing to all of these symptoms. And the women in their 30s, unless you've got some sort of medical menopause that happened to you, it does has nothing to do with menopause and everything to do with those other factors that I mentioned. So, regardless of whether we're labeling these symptoms menopause, it's the body is communicating with us. So, we have to start with good information that the body is not broken, that the body does not need to be medicated, stuffed with with fake hormones or bioidentical hormones. Sometimes I have lots of clients who need them. Absolutely, like they're life-saving. But not every single woman, and that should be the last option. Um, so liver detox, adrenal support, nervous system work, somatic healing is huge for this. Herbs, there's tons of really wonderful herbs for menopause. I just read a study that came out, low fat, whole food, plant-based diet reduced hot flashes by like 60 to 70%. Just low fat, whole foods, plant-based, like not even with anything else tacked on there, reduced hot flashes by a huge percentage. So there's a lot that can be done, and there's a lot that the body is communicating. So some of what the body is communicating, we have to treat with science and with what we're putting in and how we're pushing it out. And then the other aspects we need to treat with learning the language that our body speaks. And so for me, a hot flash is pangs of heat coming off the liver because it's overwhelmed. So you maybe you do or don't know, like what your body is telling you with that there's lots of ancient Chinese medicine that understands that, that's connected to that information. So some of it is, so the thing is when you tune in and you pay attention to the hot flash, like you're really tuning in, and just let's say that's an example. Where is it coming from? Where is it starting? Like, can you identify it's coming from the adrenals? Can you identify it's coming from the liver? Is it coming from somewhere else? So like really fine tuning, checking in with that, and then talking to the body, like what's wrong? Why are we doing this? What's the imbalance? And so we that's where we've got to have both. We have to have the science, we have to have the somatics, and then when you have like a good clean physical vessel and you have a regulated nervous system, that's when the intuition is pew. And then you're going to find the right people, you're going to find the right practitioners, you're going to find the right support groups, you're going to find the right information that helps you. You're going to be guided to these things, and you're going to be in a calm enough state that you can connect with them and you're going to know. So yeah, it's a little bit complex. But this is the process of learning the language that your body speaks, and everybody's body speaks a little bit differently because we've all got different stuff stored in there and we all have different histories. Um, But yeah, menopause. Oh man, I get really fired up about that. And I'm also in the process of preparing myself for menopause. I'm going to be 43 in January. The average age of menopause of like the final period is 51. So I'm 8 years out, but I want to get there ready. I want to get there with my body in the best place possible. So when I have to go through this change, um, I have as much good nutrients on board. My liver's in the best place. My adrenals are as healthy as possible. My nervous system is the most grounded. My intuition is in the most calm space. I don't have any debt anymore, and I never will. Um, so those kinds of things, right? So I am preparing myself for that. That is in my mind. And so I think it's also something like we don't need to be afraid of. It's something we need to embrace and understand. And there is so much beauty on the other side of menopause. I have seen my very old, wise sage self in the mirror doing mirror work. And she is amazing and beautiful and like show me the way. Like I am excited to be her at some point. I'm not in any rush to get through my life, but I'm excited to be that version of myself that is no longer in the motherhood and the monthly cycle. There's beauty on the other end of that. So I used to have lots of perimenopause symptoms and I've healed 98% of them. Yes. No more hot flashes, night sweats, bladder issues, weight gain. Yes, 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 totally. This is a next topic I'm going to take on. I've got the somatic healing thing. I've got the mastermind. We're doing the retreats, but the next like nutritional health topic I'm going to take on is menopause. It's been on my mind for a long time and now I have the capacity to do it. um, Gotta say, menopause does destroy you and remake you, and that can be hard to experience. Didn't take any drugs, organic vegetarian for decades, still vast changes, and not just a little this and that. Did turn out to be a decent medium though. Yeah, yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not there yet, but for me, I just think of it as like, it's like puberty or it's like stepping into motherhood, like those are huge transformational times in a woman's life. So if we can have the physical in the best space possible and the nervous system, then we're going to have more capacity, right? So when those activations come in, they don't kick us into the sympathetic or they don't drop us down into the hypoarousal, right? We're not like, we're like, okay, this is tough, but I can handle this. I have the capacity. So yeah, I'm building that window of tolerance for that. Definitely. Absolutely. I mean, I still have a 3-year-old, so I'm very much in the mother phase right now. But yeah, when I will be absolutely postmenopausal by the time she graduates from high school. So um okay, any last questions before we wrap up? You guys also can just book single sessions with me too if you're not ready for a big thing yet. All that's on my website. And I also have private packages if you're not a group person. But I am like absolutely thrilled and stoked about this mastermind because like this is for me. This is for me and you guys. Like we're doing it together. It's going to be powerful and transformative. And whenever you jump into something like this, the transformation that happens and who you are on the other side of it is always delightfully shocking because you never knew, because you're going to access parts of yourself and capacity that you didn't know existed. Like you didn't know you could have that level of intuition or that spiritual business or finish that book or get yourself out of some repeating pattern or be debt free, or at least credit card debt free. That would be great. So yeah. All right, so I will wrap up with that. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate your time and energy, and I hope that you've got something to take away. I was going to say your homework is to do the tracking. Okay, those 5 steps. That is that is the key. And then if you get to a point with that where you're like, now what do I do? That's when you come back and I help you find your unique individual next steps, not just that's the get started generic, but then like where are we going for you? What do you need? So all right, you guys are amazing. Thank you for being here and sending you love and light.
Yeah, yeah, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So great. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Bye.